Welcome, Mike Lynch. We're so glad to have you here to talk a little bit about your presentation at this year's State of Therapy conference. Mike Lynch is a licensed marriage and family therapist, and he's been treating individuals, couples, and families and groups for over 15 years, first in California and then in Massachusetts with a nonprofit, and really studied closely with Dr. Stephen Johnson, who is the founder of the Men's Center in Los Angeles. After Mike moved here to Massachusetts, he has also been running his own men's center in New England, in Burlington, focusing on the treatment of adverse male population. Mike is also the president of NEAFAST. So, your presentation, Mike, when the Manosphere invades therapy, working with today's lost boys and men. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is about?
Absolutely. And thank you for having me. And frankly, thank you for being the one who prompted this. It was actually a conversation that you and I, Catherine, were having that sparked this. And dealing with men who in treatment who are getting a lot of toxic messaging around what masculinity is, what it isn't, and dealing with, as you said, treatment averse men. I get a lot of guys who they don't won't even say they're in therapy. They'll say, I have a guy that I talk to, and I'm that guy that they talk to. Just because saying therapy feels like weakness to them in some way.
Mhm.
And so my presentation is going to be really focused on in an incredibly hostile atmosphere towards therapy right now in masculinity. How do you break down some of those barriers and how do you create the psychological safety and the comfort that men need in order to open up and be vulnerable and really do the work?
Yeah, yeah. No, this is a really hot topic.
Mhm.
Why is it so important to the community right now, to our community of therapists?
Again, I think there's a huge with the current political climate, the current online culture, there's just, I mean, outright hostility towards therapists and therapy. I mean, I've been, unfortunately, for my sanity, been going down some rabbit holes of Reddit and deeper into the manosphere than I'd even like to go, and seeing what the attitudes towards therapy really are. Um, and we all know, even if there's no real good statistics to prove it, we all know men typically are don't want to go to therapy. It's seen as weakness and things like that. But it's gotten so much worse in the past few years, and you know, because the culture has shifted so much towards this false idea of stoicism. Stoicism does not mean not feeling anything. It means working with the feelings and not letting them overwhelm you, but it does not mean being made of stone. Um, and so there's a zeitgeist right now that is again kind of against talking about your feelings, which is what a lot of men I deal with think therapy is. And so I'm going to try to uh, co-create with the people at the conference some ways of maybe changing some of the language we use and more about approach than technique
Hmm.
in terms of working with guys. It's a goofy analogy I use. It's kind of like beef stew. It's got to be more than the sum of its parts. It's not just about one ingredient. It's about a lot of ingredients all working together at the same time.
Yeah, fantastic. What do you see in terms of, it certainly shapes the experience of men coming to therapy or not coming to therapy or how they are in therapy. How do you see it affecting, how do you see the manosphere affecting relationships?
I see it in working in both ways, and this is something I really hope to achieve is to create some balance because even just the other day, I took a call from somebody, a couple looking to do some work, and they said, "I need you to fix my husband. He's a toxic male," and you're already starting off on the wrong foot if you're as a therapist or as a partner coming in with that kind of hostility. There's a great line from an episode of The Simpsons where he says, "I'm Troy McClure. You might remember me from such self-help films as Smoke Yourself Thin and Get Confident, Stupid." And that idea of wagging your finger and saying you're a toxic male and you're broken and this is the patriarchy and all that, I, I, it might be true, but it's not necessarily working.
Mm,
And that is part of the overreaction that we're having culturally of, men feeling kind of pushed away and going, well, fine, then F you and running away.
mm,
And
mm.
so it's about creating an atmosphere where again another couple reached out to me recently and she pop quizzed me on the phone. She said, "Are you a feminist?" And I said, "Absolutely." If your definition of feminism is everybody's got equal right to health, wealth, happiness, and all of that stuff, but I'm not going to male bash, nor am I going to female bash.
Mhm.
So, that's really what I hope to achieve out of this is frankly to, the largest piece of the statistics and everything I'm going to use is from this book of Boys and Men by Richard
Ah,
Reeves.
okay, yeah.
Fantastic. And really lays out the case that like it's not a zero-sum game. In order for men to do better, it doesn't mean women need to do worse.
Mm,
And we have this false binary in the culture around, masculinity is the problem. No, masculinity is the solution, and it's neither.
right.
And it's about redefining it in a way that works in the current times.
There's where the beef stew comes in again,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
So what are your main goals, or what is the main goal or the takeaway or the strategy that you're hoping the participants walk away with?
Yeah, the main goal I hope is that I think as a field, we need to create a more welcoming atmosphere for men to want to go to therapy and for it to not be seen as something they have to do, but something that they want to do. There's most men go to therapy because something bad has happened.
Mhm.
It's called catabasis, which is, not the girl from the Hunger Games. It's the Greek word for the fall. And a lot of men go to therapy because they have screwed something up.
Mhm.
They're facing a crisis. And sometimes at that point it's too late.
Mhm.
And so I hope that in some small way, I can help the participants and maybe move the needle on the field in some small way towards um, having a more, like I said, more welcoming atmosphere and making it seem like something that they want to do, that they're an active participant in. I, I tell every client in the initial phone call, the reason I'm a therapist is because I had good therapy. And, so because I want to normalize it right off the bat that this is not just okay, this is the thing that saved my life. And well, maybe it can do that for you as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mike. I'm really looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you.